Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, direct.
Default. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I get a kick out of the fact that he is trying to ask us to hate the undocumented people in this country. Meanwhile, as many of you know, when he was a private businessman, he hired hundreds and hundreds of undocumented people in his resorts at low wages and in building projects that he undertook. Trump rants and raves about outsourcing. Oh, my God, how terrible. Corporations are shutting down in America. They're going to low-wage countries abroad, says Trump. What do you think he did as a businessman? He manufactured his products in China, in Mexico, in Bangladesh, in Turkey, hiring people at very, very low wages.
So did you watch? Did you watch last night? Did you, everybody? Because right now all we have coming from the White House is the awesome power of the federal government is going to be Donald Trump's personal hitmen. This is where we're at. Okay, this is where the American system of governance has gone. Governing for revenge, everybody. So essentially, Donald Trump is going to, I don't know, either ask everyone who works for him or reduce the number of people who work for him so that all we have left are white supremacists, pranksters, and hitmen. That's it. You know, I can't explain to you how the next 8 months are going to be the most brutal thing we have ever witnessed in our lives. You know, Iowa was a disgusting mess. No one really knows who won. I mean, we have 100% of the precincts reporting. But now they're going to ask for a recanvass or a recount so that everybody can figure out. All I can tell you is it's very close in Iowa, anyway, where the white people live, between Buttigieg and Bernie. They're within 0.1% of the popular vote, okay? That's where they're at. And so because they have an undemocratic system in Iowa, a messy system in Iowa, a ridiculous system in Iowa, Buttigieg gets one more delegate. I don't know. I can't. But on to New Hampshire now. So tonight I want you to know there is a debate. There's a debate in Iowa. It's going to be on ABC, whatever that channel is for you. I remember when there were 3. Actually 4 if you included PBS. And if you lived in New York, you had 2 public broadcasts. You had Channel 2 and 13. 2. Same thing. But anyway, tonight on ABC, it's WMUR, Apple News are hosting the debate. So the chief anchor for ABC, George Stephanopoulos, will be the one of the moderators. David Muir. Anybody? David Muir? David Muir? Yeah. He's World News Tonight anchor, and he will be there. Lindsay Davis, anybody? She's an ABC News correspondent. And the political director for WMUR, Adam Sexton. They will be the moderators for tonight's debate. Last night, we had town halls. Bernie pointed out what a front-running phony Donald Trump is. Elizabeth Warren also explained to you how cruel and unusual the United States has become with regard to the immigration issue.
When I first read about our government spending our tax dollars to take children away from their families, this has been now a year and a half ago, I went down to the border, went down to McAllen, Texas, right at the beginning of this. And I just want you all to think about this. I went into what looked like a giant Amazon warehouse, only it was a warehouse that was dirty and smelled bad. And on my left, when I walked in, cage after cage after cage jammed right against each other, crammed full of men. So full of men, maybe 10 feet wide, 40 feet deep, a toilet back in the corner. So full of men that they couldn't all lie down at the same time. Over here were cages full of women. And I thought, this is terrible, until I walked into the main area. And that's where the cages of children were. Right in the center, a cage full of little girls. Just little girls. No toys, nothing to play with, no television, all these children who don't even know each other. And they were all just sitting there. They were the saddest little girls I've ever seen. And then another cage of little girls, over there a cage of little boys. Back in the corner, a cage of nursing mothers. And I talked to one of these mothers, and she said that what she'd done is she came from Central America. She said she had given a drink to a police officer. He was thirsty. And the next day, she got the word that the gangs believed she was working with the police. She knew that meant that she and her baby would be killed. So she wrapped her baby up and she ran for our border. So what we have to do is we have to restore aid in Central America, get our allies to do that, help stabilize those governments so people don't feel that they have to flee for their lives in order to have any future. And then at the border, we have to live our values every day. A nation, we cannot be a nation that takes away children from their families. We cannot be a nation that treats people who come to us, people who are desperate, people who are afraid for their lives, and treats them with anything other than humanity. We are measured by how we treat these, the least of thy brethren. Matthew 25, I was a stranger and ye took me in. We have a moral responsibility to other people around this world, and we have a responsibility to each other to live our moral values every day. That's the kind of president I will be.
Just like Trump. He lives his moral values every day. In fact, Donald Trump is so irreligious that he doesn't recognize religion when he sees it. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, too. This was amazing. Nancy Pelosi was cross-examined by the press because Donald Trump said that he hates people who use their religion to do the wrong thing, and he also hates people who say they pray for him when he knows they don't. Nancy Pelosi is a practicing Catholic. If anybody knows any practicing Catholics in your life, my friends that I grew up with, they were practicing Catholics. You know, in their kitchen, over the sink, was a bleeding heart Jesus. Okay? I think actually it like pumped blood and stuff. I think that was like Carmen's Pride and Joy. And there were shrines all over the house. And there were, you know, a place she would kneel and pray all over the house. All over the house. Do you think Donald Trump has any clue about that or what that is? Or so Nancy Pelosi was grilled yesterday about whether or not she prays for the president to be his moral best or to have courage and she gave the best answer ever.
I don't know if the president understands about prayer or people who do pray, but we do pray for the United States of America. I pray for him. I pray for President Bush, still President Obama, because it's a heavy responsibility. And I pray hard for him because he's so off the track of our Constitution, our values, our country, the air our children breathe, the water they drink, and the rest. He really needs our prayers. So he can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants, but I do pray for him, and I do so sincerely and without anguish. You know, gently, that's the way I pray for everybody else.
I mean... Of course she prays for him because he's so off the track. That is when you pray for people. You pray for people who are in danger. You pray for people who are hurting other people, that they would see the error of their ways. That's what you pray for. I mean, it's just now, of course, Donald Trump probably only prays for, his deals to go through or for, a tax cut or I don't know if he ever prays at all. But obviously, the Democrats stand for something much more moral. They all have more character in their little finger than this man will ever have in his entire orange, wrinkly, pasty, disgusting, crusty body. That's just the truth. I mean, the president hired more illegals than probably, half of Iowa, meat producers to work and to make his bed and to, wash his soily underwears. We all know that. And then he stiffed everybody. Doesn't even pay. He couldn't find legal representation because everybody knows he doesn't even pay his legal bills. I mean, he's a sick, twisted freak. And of course, people who pray for him because he's got so much power as the president of the United States, and all he's interested in using it for is to go after anyone and everyone who had anything to do with his impeachment for abusing his power.